calling all the DPOs corrupt when you do not have evidence. So please, let's be properly guided. All the police officers are doing their job, and they will do significantly well. Without them, without their cooperation with the INEC, we probably might never have a peaceful, credible election. So yes, there have been those insinuations that maybe you find some security agencies being culpable or conniving with politicians, but unless you have evidence and valid proof you can tender, you have absolutely no right to accuse anybody, be it a policeman or not, of being corrupt. Thank you very much for your understanding, parliamentarians, and please let's be properly guided going forward. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary. Okay, we lost connection there. Hello, good morning.
Hello, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, thank you for having me. My last shot in the freaking young.
All right, briefly, please.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I don't know what the last speaker seeks to achieve by alleging that all the DPOs we have in Akwa Ibom are corrupt. Mr. Speaker, I want to tell him that without the cooperation of the Nigerian police, the peace we are enjoying here in Akwa Ibom through the policy of the state government, the state government, state government, wouldn't have been possible. I mean, they need to be commended in this regard. Look at how peaceful, building up to election, how peaceful the state is. Does he remember what used to happen in the past? Does he remember how critical this period used to be? I mean, people running for their lives, people hiding in the villages. They are afraid coming out to walk freely on the streets of Akwa Ibom. But today, the case is not the same. We are moving peacefully. People are going about their normal businesses without fears of anything. That is as a result of the cooperation of the Nigerian police. I please plead that parliamentarian, with due respect to you, please, call back and apologize to the Nigerian police because they are listening to us now. I know that a parliamentarian, Diko McDonald, which is a strong parliamentarian of this parliament, I'm talking about the police PPRO, is listening to this program right now. Please, I crave your indulgence, that parliamentarian. Call back and apologize to the Nigerian police. Thank you for having me. I am the President Yang.
All right, thank you very much, Parliamentarian Different Kenya. And like I stated clearly, the police force, without them, we wouldn't be having the peace and security that we have in not just Akwa Ibom State, but Nigeria at large. They have done their part of sacrificing their time and their presence to ensure that we sleep in our homes peacefully, quietly. And of course, we cannot take that for granted, the sacrifices these men and women have made for us to have a better society. So if you, yes, those questions, those insinuations are there, but if you do not have a valid proof that you can tender to us before even making the claim, it is clearly forbidden on the floor of the House and, of course, any radio or media outlet for you to accuse anybody on air. And, of course, to even accuse without having proof is a worst-case scenario. I'd like for that parliamentarian to call back, like parliamentarian Ndifreka has moved the motion, and of course apologize to the Nigerian police, and hopefully he's going to do that. But going forward, I'd like to reiterate that we be very conscious of the things we say on radio. Yes, it is the people's parliament. It is your parliament. There's freedom of speech, freedom of expression, but it comes with a responsibility to ensure that whatever information, whatever you bring to the floor of the House in terms of your contributions are valid, proven with backed up evidence. Otherwise, it is not welcome on the floor of the House. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary.
Hello, good morning, Planet.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, my name is William. I'm calling for recording.
Go ahead, Williams.
Thank you. Please, I want to comment on the issue of vote buying. I want to tell you that around Nigeria in 2015, we voted Buhari to power. So I went to polling units that I wanted to vote. I saw people, other candidate party were buying votes. They pleaded with me to come and get money to vote their candidate. I said I won't do that. I can never do that. I want to vote my conscience. So I went ahead and voted. I'm sorry if I offended anybody by saying this. I was among the people who voted Buhari in, based on my conscience, because they promised us change. I thought the change would be positive change. So after my voting, they start blaming me that, look, I did that you voted our party, we should have given you 2,003. I said, no, I didn't come here for buy alien of votes.
All right. Did you also tell them that 2,000 naira divided into 4 years amounts to absolutely nothing?
Okay, so this time around, if I go, what I'm trying to tell you is that this time as I will go out to vote, even if other people, the other party gave me 100,000 naira, I will not collect. I will vote my conscience.
All right, thank you.
Authoritatively, yes, I will vote my conscience. I can never say my vote. I really enjoy the peace we enjoy in this state. Our governor, our security personnel, they have really worked hard. That guy that talk about the police, I still join and to tell him to call and apologize, because if he travel out of this state, you see what other people are facing. So God really help us with the good policing and the government have in this state. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate you. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, welcome. Briefly, please. You have 60 seconds before we head out to our second recess.
My name is Akwa, calling from you. Mr. Speaker, you are telling Nigerians on my private mic that the police are doing their job. I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Do you know that going down to political history from 1999, our suffering that we are suffering up to today might have been caused by the police and the island conniving with the politicians to rig election and to deny us of our rights, the rights of people that have been treated to reach us. And because of that, we are suffering. You know the nature of what police are doing. If that guy is saying that the DPO should be changed, he might have seen something. Let us always be thinking beyond the box. The police are the people destroying the peace of this country by rigging elections, conniving with these people, or politicians and the INEC. That is the truth. And if we cannot choose the leader we want, go down, you will discover that the end of this might have been caused by the INEC and the politicians. So
Okay, I have to cut you off there. Let's get one thing clear. We know that there is arguably some elements within the Nigerian police force who do not abide by the ethics of the Nigerian police and, of course, best standard practices when it comes to policing. We also know that these policemen are men, they're humans, and the tendency of being tempted is also very much there. Recall last year we had the top security leaders in Nigeria coming out to say they were under pressure to compromise the 2023 general elections, and they reiterated their stance that they are in support of democracy. If you look critically at what happened just a few weeks back, where the spokesperson of the APC was invited for the allegation that Atiku Abubakar had some meeting with high-powered security chiefs, and of course alleging that probably it might be to, cause confusion within the 2023 general elections. He's currently being questioned by the DSS and the Nigerian police force. So, yes, there is a possibility of having some rotten elements within the police, but those rotten elements cannot and should not be the yardstick why we measure how we measure the sacrifices and the jobs done by the Nigerian police force. And we have to give them credits and kudos where they do well, and also tell them the truth in areas where they are not doing well. And this is the truth that must be spoken, not just on the floor of the People's Parliament, but also across the streets of Nigeria, Akwa Ibom State. We'll take a short pause here and head out to bring you the BBC The World in 2 minutes and a few more commercials. When we come back, Mr. Harry Udoh will be leading us to look critically at the top two political parties' presidential candidates' manifesto. Stay with us on the floor of the House. We'll be right back.
minutes. This is the story of two friends who lived in the same neighborhood, Smart and Lucky. Lucky didn't accept the COVID-19 vaccine and stopped everyone in his house from being vaccinated. Before you can say Jack Robinson, there was a COVID-19 outbreak in the area. Lucky and two members of his family got infected. Lucky was sick and couldn't do his business for months. Now, even food to chop no do. His nephew got very sick. It didn't no end well at all.
We did all we could, but it didn't make it.
But Smart's case did different. Everybody in his family was vaccinated. Only one person got infected and his symptoms were minor. Who would you rather be, Smart or Lucky?
Protect yourself, family, friends, and community from COVID-19. Get vaccinated sharply.
Do it for love.
Do it for love.
Do it for love.
Hello, my people. No let new naira and cashless matter worry you. Hope Bank dey your phone, 500 naira woof day. So if you want send mama money, I be to buy a Maka recharge card. To give customer money, I be customer want give you money. Hope dey your phone, 500 naira woof day. My people, your phone number, na ATM card and account number. Oh.
Yes, so enjoy better life with Hope Wallet. Dial *569*9# on your phone. Select Open Wallet. Put your details and fiam. Your wallet done set. Hope PS Bank go sama you 500 naira a woof. Terms and conditions dey. Hope. Succeed. Hope Bank always.
Come and fly away with me. Come and fly away with me. Come and fly away with me.
Learn more about the growing aviation industry and stand a chance to win exclusive gifts and benefits every Thursday on Touchdown Thursday with Ibom Air, 4 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Exclusive to Planet 101.1 FM Radio. This program is proudly brought to you by Ibom Air in partnership with TAF Media Group.
Amapiano and Afrobeats, they dine together. The two giants, Niger and South Ibom show. Plenty drama, romance, cameras 247. Come see where Yawa de gas Yawa.
Make on cash all the excitement on Top Go TV Jolly, Max, and Super on Channel 29. Reconnect today on my Go TV app or dial *288#. Big Brother Titans now for people who don't reach or pass 18 years old. Our headline sponsors now Bamboo, Wave, and Lotto Star.
And Akwa Ibom State CSOs Forum, and of course a public policy analyst amongst others. Good morning and welcome to the Parliament.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Leader of the House. Great to be here this morning. Sorry that we came in a bit late, but it goes with the times and the seasons. We hope that this will improve as we go forward.
Definitely, we hope so too. Let's kickstart our conversations with the manifesto of the NNPP presidential candidate, who by this is, I think, this is the only presidential candidate who has not visited Akwa Ibom State. We have to be very personal about the interest. But so far, some of the key things highlighted in his manifesto has been one of the key things that Nigerians have been asking for: restructuring. And in as much as his statement is not bold and firm enough, I think He's the only president, I stand corrected, that I've seen mention the issue of restructuring. But let's get to hear your viewpoint on his manifesto and how it stands.
Yeah, I don't think that he's the only presidential candidate that has mentioned restructuring. If you look at the Labour Party presidential candidate's manifesto, it's very clear there. It's in articles, even though he wasn't very emphatic about it, it's there as well. And Tinubu's, manifesto, just glossed over it like that. And so, so that's for the candidate of the, NNPP. He talks about that. But again, you remember the other day we talked about antecedents. So when you look at his antecedents, look at the body language, you recall how there were discussions. They actually had discussions with the Labour Party in terms of merging. He came up with a superiority complex, and stuff like that. And that tells you that he recognizes that Nigerians are yearning for proper restructuring, having fiscal federalism, and having the component units operate, as entities within a community, so that they can realize their potential. And that's how it was at the first, democracy that we had. And you found that that's when we had the kind of groundnut pyramids, and you had palm oil, here down in the southeast and the south, also having their own stake to the economy. Then oil wasn't that much, oil was only discovered or became very prominent from the 70s up. All right. So I think he's just pandering to the sentiments of the people there. And then when you look at his manifesto carefully, it doesn't look, I'm trying to use the right word. Look, the structure of his manifesto is something that is different from that of the APC and that of the PDP. He tells you what he's going to do, then he comes to, he structures it. He says strategies, how he's going to get there. You may argue with the strategies, right? I'm thinking that is not born out of, deep cerebral consideration and understanding of what the nation really needs right now, the situation, the context of the country right now, coming up from all of the transitions that we've had and what our democracy is and all of that. It's the Labour Party's candidate's manifesto that takes a long time, about 3-4 pages to analyze the context that Nigeria is right now, and with that, without understanding what the challenges are, your solutions are always going to be
going to fail, definitely.
Yeah. So that's it. I think that while he has structured his manifesto very well, I don't see the depth in even the strategies that he has preferred. But if I were to put the 4 manifestos, and say choose 1, 2, 3, for instance, I will pick the Labour Party, and I'll tell you that, when you look at the Labour Party's candidate's manifesto, it talks about security, all right, and he tells you specifically the things that he's going to do for there to be security, about issues of community security relationship, about employment, recruiting more personnel. It talks about deployment of up-to-date technology and gadgets. It talks about proper training for the military. It talks about focusing the army on external
aggression.
And then focusing the police and properly training them to be able to handle internal issues. Even talks about how he's going to work with the Ministry of Internal Affairs and other related ministries and parastatals to ensure that they are able to deliver. It talks about even the issue of state policing, and he's quite bold about that. It's quite bold about the issue of restructuring and tells you exactly the things he's going to do to ensure. And this is what, and I think that anybody, I wish we had the time to take those points that the Labour Party candidate has put one by one, or to even do a comparative analysis for each of, because they have similar things. You remember, Labour Party brought out their manifesto and then took it back because there was because immediately another party copied it. One of the very two top parties copied it, and so they had to withdraw their manifesto and say, we'll wait, let the APC put out their manifesto before we put ours out, because already from what they have said at the campaigns, somebody was already saying, the same thing, that so they withdrew their manifesto and waited for everyone to put theirs out before they came up with theirs. And don't forget, those who worked with him on that his manifesto also worked with Buhari on his manifesto and came out to say that Buhari totally jettisoned the plans that they had put in place for him. And that's the difference between somebody, and that's what we talked about, look, we said here the other time, we said, look at the person's personage, the passion, all right? Look at the body language. Hear the things he's saying. Is it coming from his heart? I was at a forum where a candidate here in this state was presenting his manifesto. There was a clear disconnect. Even though slides were being used, he labored to put that through. So once you own, if you can own what you're putting in on paper, then it's okay. And that's where I take the Labour Party candidates' manifesto as number one. And surprisingly, you'll be shocked, the NPP, is better than that of the APC and the PDP. But I'll pick the PDP one as third. You see, the arrogance in the APC candidates, his candor, his everything. There's an arrogance about it, and that reflects in the manifesto. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, without giving,
clear-cut blueprints.
Yes, strategies with which, because you are going to do this, we want to know the how. The Labour Party's candidates, how is clear for you to see. In fact, when you look at it, you'll be able to deduce what the tactics would be. All right. So there's a strategy, the tactics, and all of that. You will see it there if you're able to look at that, clearly. And that's the difference for us. I'm just doing this, that because of the time that we have, to take the two at once. And so for me, if I urge people, I hope that I just wish that we had up to 45 minutes, to look at that. Then we would have taken. Because if you look at the Labour Party candidates' manifesto, it's quite articulate, it's cerebral, it's deep, it's not as much for lexicon and all of that, but as much for the depth, to give understanding of what they are going to do. The NNPP came, this is what we are going to do, these are the strategies. Like I said earlier, you may debate the strategies, all right? But it clearly shows
you how they intend to do it.
Yes, and that enables you to take for a discerning mind to say, oh, this strategy, I don't think
it's going to work.
And that helps you to take the decision. The other two, they just give you the story, the normal, usual manifestos that don't connect with the people that are going to lead eventually.
All right, now you've mentioned something that is very critical. Outside the shores of Nigeria, we're used to seeing leaders speaking straight to the hearts of the people, speaking from their heart. We are not used to, apart from a few occasions where you find a leader speaking from a pre-written script or speech written for them. What would you say is responsible for us not having those crops of politicians in Nigeria as our leaders? Because Nigerians are of the opinion that if we get to have people who truly, have the Nigerian society have had, people who truly have been able to understand what Nigerians are facing through and thus be able to speak from the heart, the situations and solutions they hope to bring, we'll have a different kinds of leadership structure in Nigeria.
I think somebody said that recently. I think Patu Tomi said that there was this analysis that with the annulment and disannulment of politicians during the Babangida era, and then that produced an Abacha who now put himself forward, to translate to a civilian president just to take off the uniform and continue. And he had politicians actually, new set of politicians who came up, to actually campaign for Abacha's third term. He had 5 political parties that somebody described as the 5 leprous, fingers of a hand, who came together and said Abacha was the best person to continue to rule Nigeria. And they went around the country, campaigning for him. Then Abacha died. And then Abdul Salami came and said he was going to, hand over to civilians. And then people who had suffered, real politicians, astute politicians, cerebral politicians, intellectual, intelligent, deep, people with depth, doubted the process because they have suffered same fate in the hands of Babangida. They stayed back. These same politicians who went about campaigning for Abacha to run a third term were the ones who came, to run for elective positions. They are the ones that are, running roughshod of the country today. All right. So you find that illiterates never do well, so to speak, are the ones who have somehow found themselves at the decision-making table for Nigeria. And once they get there, they don't want any other person to come in. So when you look at, that's why you find the level, there's no cerebral take to the things that they say. And I'm without sounding biased, all right? And that's why some of them are afraid to come on live interviews, on television, are afraid to take on debates with other candidates, all right? It's just one candidate that often watch Obi. Have you seen him with a paper before? He speaks from the heart, speaks to his manifesto, speaks, passionately about the things he's going to do. That's just the difference, all right? And so we don't have those kinds of politicians, and we think that the advent of Obi gives the hope that if he succeeds, when he succeeds, then other persons of like minds will draw inspiration, from what has happened with him to come back into the political scene. We need to have thinkers. Remember, Plato said that, it talked about, philosopher kings. It meant people who could think, who could reason, who were educated enough to understand society, to understand the challenge of society, that this should be the ones to lead. And that's why he tried to groom those sets of people, so that they can take over leadership. Leading a state, ruling a country is not something that people who don't have understanding, of the sociology of any state, of society, to be able to go and lead. They won't be able to lead properly.
Well, that's the scenario that is currently has played out in Nigeria over time, where many across the streets of Nigeria have also said, probably because we do not have people who are very well versed in terms of education. That's why education has been bastardized in Nigeria and priority has not been given. But let's look at vote selling and vote buying briefly before we call it a day on the floor of the House. The 2023 presidential elections and Federal House of Assembly's elections is just about 48 hours away. And now, inasmuch as President Muhammadu Buhari and his new Naira redesign policy, courtesy the CBN, was touted to be the agent of change that will curb vote buying. There's also been reports that a lot of governors, particularly those who are, fighting against the federal government, stand on the new Naira policy, have stashed away money to buy vote. But here is the twist. Right now, cash is lacking. So the possibility on the scale of 100, Nigerians have the opinion that it's probably going to be maybe at the 20-30 with a 70 disadvantage to politicians. But looking at the scenario, do you think we still have a significant experiences of vote buying, even at the polling unit?
We may not see that. Let me tell you that vote buying comes in different dimensions and ramifications, and it started a long time ago. You see, in some states, you hear 70 per ward, get 70 canvassers per ward. Those are the guys who are being paid, and they've started paying them like 3 months ago, preparatory to the elections. And the same thing happens across the country. And so you find I've seen 2 clips or 3 or 4 clips, of the APC supporters of the candidate of the APC sharing money. At the campaign in Lagos the other day, they were throwing money from that truck where they were driving in, throwing money to the crowd. That was what pulled people to them, and they were throwing money in good climes, in a better place. The anti-corruption, police should already be on his case. It would be disqualified, for doing that, because that's inducement, all right, and seeming to say, look at what we are giving to you. If you vote for me, I'm going to give you more, and so these are things that are happening. So it comes in different dimensions. Some of them we may not be able to trace. Some of them will come by empty promises, because of us, they did this. As soon as you vote for us, we are going to give you the money, after now. Citizens must get, anybody who says is going to buy your vote doesn't have your interest at heart, because he's making an investment. That's why, a popular American politician, referred to Nigerian politicians as entrepreneurs, political entrepreneurs, political businessmen. They just invest in the process, and they get into office and recover their money from the loot. This is the challenge that we have. So there is, I think that there's been no consequence for these actions. Where there is no consequence, impunity will thrive. That's why somebody would be on national, the whole world is looking at you and you're throwing wads of notes to the impoverished people of the land. We need to be able to look at that. I think that the EFCC should have been able to invite them and ask them where they got that money that they were trained about, when ordinary citizens can't find the money. All right, they use their connections, their reach, and all of that to get the new notes, and they're throwing it to the people. If the EFCC doesn't do anything about that, then that I don't know what's going to happen. There were time past that people bought votes. What was the consequence? Nothing was done to these guys. And so because consequence brings about deterrence. If you don't deter the people from continuing, then it brings impunity. They have more confidence, more boldness to go ahead to do that. And that's why that fellow was bold enough to have put his hands in the Ghana must go beside him and throw the wads of notes to the people. Shameful.
All right, I think this is how much we can entertain on the floor of the House today. Very much appreciate you, Mr. Harry Udoh, for coming to the floor of the House. And once again, we sincerely apologize for the inconveniences of not starting on time and not having enough time. Probably before the elections, maybe tomorrow we'll see how we can run around and do something still about this. But thank you very much for coming to the floor of the House. And to you,
always a pleasure.
Yes. And to you, parliamentarians, I truly appreciate you. On behalf of the House Leader Raymond Ita, God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria, God bless Akwa, Ibom State, and God bless you. And please, as you go out to vote, ensure that you do not vote based on how much you can benefit. I'll leave us with this word of poetry, or this poetry art done by a young, amazing Nigerian Kenyan. And this is a message for all Nigerians, particularly as it concerns vote selling. Stay and do have a very beautiful day. And of course, stay tuned to Planet Radio and the rest of our broadcasts. Bye-bye.